Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Or if you're new here, welcome to my channel. Today I will be going through chapter 1 or part 1 of this terrible book, Voices by the late fraud Beatrice Sparks, who is not a real PhD or a psychologist, didn't even have any kind of college degree or even a high school diploma at all. She was a huge fraud. I'm so shocked she got away with her fraud for as many decades as she did. My most recent video is basically just a general overview, summary of this book when I was just skimming through it before I actually started reading it. And this video will be based on a blog post which just went live today, the 11th of August 2025. And chapter 1 is about Mary, who is a cult experiencer, as we'll soon see. This reads nothing like an actual cult experience. She was so out of her depth, writing about things she knew jack squat about. But anyway, let's just start ripping into this awful book. I always have so much fun ripping this fraud apart. The late fraud Beatrice Sparks was always a terrible writer, to say the very least. But sometimes she put in relatively more effort than usual at trying to craft a somewhat stronger and more compelling story than usual, comparatively speaking. For example, I would say It Happened to Nancy is one of her relatively stronger books, but there's so much garbage, bottom of the toilet competition. Is that really a compliment? Her 1978 effort, Voices, and this is in all caps, it's not just the way it appears on the cover. She could not stay away from her all caps fetish. It's seriously, even when writing dialogues, it's I'm writing in all caps, speaking in all caps, caps, capsicans. I love all caps. I don't know any other way to emphasize a sentence or a word. But so anyway, this ain't one of them by a long shot. Just as in the Rancid Almost Lost, and I have a whole bunch of videos ripping that book apart, her deviation from the usual diary format illuminates all her flaws. She kind of learned a lesson. Oh, I'm going to stay away from pretended case studies and interviews in which no actual questions are ever asked. I'm just going to go back to the fake journals, because that seemed to be the winning formula with Go Ask Alice and It Happened to Nancy and all this other jazz. After the introduction, I went over that in the previous video, in which she pretends to have traveled cross-country on my ass, interviewing over 1,000 teen runaways in 67 cities. She traveled, round trip. She went one way and then she went back the other. Oh, interviewing all these runaways. I'm the caring Dr. B. I went to so many cities and towns. There were way more kids than I could use in the actual book. They were just lining up around the block to talk to me because I'm Dr. B. Everyone loves me. Pat myself on the back. And anyway, and so in the introduction, she also spews a bunch of psychobabble, pats herself on the back, as I was just saying, as a trusted adult. All these hurting kids flock to. She loved the word kids for teens. And she cites fake credentials and reveals herself as completely out of touch with modern life in the real world, particularly in the chapter about the girl who supposedly goes lesbian with a teacher. It is loaded with so much homophobia. It's seriously, even in the 1970s, reviewers thought this was homophobic, offensive, damaging crap. This wasn't even for the standards of the 70s, that should tell you something. And she's all this homophobia, we're still back in the Victorian era, and oh, buggery is terrible, and gay teachers they're always essaying and grooming their students and moving around to do it again. Yeah, I'm going to have such a, well, not really a good time, but you know what I mean. I cannot wait to rip apart the Millie chapter with all the crap homophobia bit. So anyway, after this stupid introduction, we are treated to the first pretended interview. 17-year-old Mary has long felt her mother and stepfather, Frank, are plastic, fake, constantly watching TV, the boob tube, where people tell me in the comments, if you were around in the 70s, did people really seriously say boob tube, particularly if they were teens, or was that mostly a thing people were saying in the 50s, maybe early 60s, or it was kind of a joke word maybe by the 70s, not something young people would actually say. Although in the Mark chapter, she says the dad-gummed donkey just wouldn't go. No one said dad-gummed in the 70s. And so anyway, Mary feels Mommykins and Stepdaddy are tuned out to her wants and needs unless she sees them at work. And then they're, oh yeah, Mary, that's totally awesome. Now we really have time for you. But, setting the stage for, oh, she turned to the cult and brainwashing because mama, precious mommy, she just wasn't around. She wasn't a good housewifeykins and a good 24/7 mommykins. And oh, divorce, that's bad. Divorce F's up kids irreparably. Don't ever get divorced. And if you're a mommy, don't work outside the home. Being a Beatrice Sparks book, of course we get a heaping helping of anti-feminist ranting about how Mary's mother dares to want the sexes to be treated equally and for girls and women to have greater opportunities for employment. I went over that in the previous video. She throws in as many insulting, offensive stereotypes as possible, speaking as a pretended authority on a subject she knows jack squat about. Like, for example, the whole, oh, all feminists hate men and think males are inferior to females. I wonder if mommy would feel the same about me if I had been an icky boy. Ooh, gross. Mommy would treat me like she does Frank and insulting me. And, oh, mommy thinks women should only be CEOs and in STEM jobs. Oh, no, forget about liberal arts, or maybe you genuinely want to be a homemaker. Nope, gotta push the stereotype that feminists only want women to be in the boardroom instead of like doing anything else. Yeah, nice job revealing you knew jack squat about feminism, you Molly Mormon, or oh, I hate this woman. Things start changing when a strange girl on the bus touches Mary's arm, yeah, like she's not creeped out by that at all, and says, Jesus loves you. They start chatting about Jesus and religion and spirituality and promise to meet tomorrow in the library. Like I said in the previous video, maybe that I could see that how maybe that genuinely wakes someone up. Oh, wow, I wasn't really ever thinking about religion or spirituality, and I just had an epiphany. And oh, the normal person might think, okay, maybe I'm going to start reevaluating my life and my values and my priorities, start doing things differently, like explore spirituality, maybe do some, like go to a couple of different churches and try out which particular church or denomination I'm most interested in, like go on a retreat because summer vacation is going up. But nope, oh, I've got to immediately dive hardcore head into the Jesus movement, which now when I was doing research for the blog post, I found out, yeah, there were a couple of like cults that did like grow out of this, but like most people in the Jesus movement, they were not at all like cult people. They were just like kind of like a back to the land hippie type of movement, wanted to get in touch with spirituality. And the Jesus movement, I'm not Christian myself, but it still has a lot of influence and reverberation, particularly in Protestantism today. So like again, like a Mormon, she knew jack squat about actual like other denominations of Christianity, even though she pretended to. So anyway, Mary is looking forward to this meeting, but the plans are derailed when her stepfather Frank is in an accident. And like the way she writes, well, I'm going to get into this more in the final thoughts wrapping up video, but like she capitalizes stepdad and words for parents when they're not standing in for proper nouns, like my capital M mother or my real capital M daddy, or stepdad is hyphenated at one point and step is lowercase and dad is uppercase. Like what the F is that about? Like she needed an editor. Not long afterwards, she encounters another stranger, Dawn, who tells her Jesus loves you. Mary and Dawn go to the park and talk, or as Dr. Fraud puts it, rapped for hours. Like, were people really using the word like rap to talk about, oh, we're having a brainstorming session. We just rapped for hours. I mean, like, I'm thinking like they couldn't have been like doing a rap battle in the park for hours. Again, she was totally out of touch with her slang, a 60-year-old Molly Mormon trying to sound down with the kids by using what she thinks is hip, cutting-edge, hardcore street slang, but just sounds totally laughable and out of touch. Despite knowing absolutely nothing about Dawn or her intentions, so that's always a good idea, Mary agrees to get in a van with her. What? And go God knows where. Like that's red flag should be going off. She leaves a message at her mother's office, and off she goes to start a new life with a cult. Like, seriously. Everyone sings, chants, and talks about Jesus on the long journey to Haven House, an isolated property by woods and lake. After arrival, they do calisthenics. Well, surprise, guess what? Praising Jesus some more, and are then herded into a big bare room. More praise to Jesus follows, and everyone shares what they're thankful and grateful for. Then the cult leaders enter, dressed all in white. That sounds kind of like Mormon temple to me. And the 7 neophytes. You know, a word all teens use in casual conversation. There's so much purple prose in all of her books. They're using these like $1 million thesaurus words. Another one she likes, I saw it several times in the Mary chapter alone and many Other books she uses the word quarrel or quarreling instead of like a fight, maybe arguing. Like who says quarreling? Like even like adults, they usually say fight or argued. And so again, the cult leaders in white stand up. I mean, sorry, the neophytes stand up and talk about what brought them there. Like, yeah, that's like, is it? Are we really supposed to believe this is how cults operate? This is like going from 0 to 60 in a micro millisecond. It's just, you're skipping all these steps. You guessed it, more prayers are next. Then the newbies are made to sit cross-legged and rest their chins on T-shaped sticks. Is that supposed to be cross symbolism or something? While leaders Sky, they all have hippie-ish names, lectures for hours. Every time Mary starts to fall asleep or fall off the stick, someone touches a point on her neck, like near her shoulders, and that's supposed to like make her magically like, oh, I'm alerted, I'm jarred up now, I totally awake. But I'm obviously not going to try that with myself or someone else. But again, where was Dr. Fraud getting this from? Like, where medical school did she pretend to go to? The newbies are deprived of food, water, sleep, and bathroom breaks for the next 3 days. I mean, I initially misread it. I thought it was 6 days, but like 3 days, that's pretty bad too. While Sky and his cronies continue lecturing, and they're forced to stay in that same position on the floor. And during this time, Mary actually starts wetting herself a little bit. That's cruel and unusual. Like, even the most hardcore cult, I don't think they're telling people you can't go to the freaking bathroom for 3 days, like over 60 hours. Finally, they're taken outside to be baptized in the lake, where they're given new names. Mary becomes Lilac. Oh, a hippie name. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the name Lilac. Maybe not my style for if I were to have a child or something like that, but they're all hippie-ish names they're getting, like Gentle, Trust, like Sky, Dawn, all these like stereotypical hippie names. Afterwards, they're given punch and brown bread loaded with honey, homemade brown bread from the cult. Cult members slave from sunup to sundown in the fields, like 4 or 5 in the morning to 7 or 8 whenever the sun goes down. They only eat homemade bread and the vegetables they grow themselves. They're not allowed to brush their teeth or floss until Sky decides they're spiritually ready. She just loved being hyperbolic and goofy. Mary makes friends with the new arrival, Gentle, who has a very hard time adjusting to all this hard work. Like, who wouldn't? Gentle shows her hardened rock-like scars from heroin injection, not just on her arms like a normal person would shoot up, but on the roof of her mouth, her hairline, the back of her knees, and groin. Like, oh, who shoots heroin like that? Dr. Fraud loved being as over-the-top as possible, like, to say the least. Dawn randomly dies. Like, wow, that's like just thrown in there for no reason. And then Gentle slits her wrists. And I mean, I'm not going to like get like graphic or do any details. I don't want to get bounced off of YouTube, but more men than women are successful at unaliving themselves by slitting their wrists, because like men tend to do it in a direction that's more lethal than the direction women do it in. I'm not going to like give details on which direction usually works versus not. I'm not going to like, no one should unalive themselves. But again, like, we're supposed to believe like a teenage naive girl, she knows the correct way to slit her wrists to successfully unalive herself, when like most females who unalive themselves, they don't do it in the lethal way like most men do. But anyway, Sky entreats the cult not to be sad, one of many Mormon influences on this chapter. Oh, there were so many. Mormons are discouraged from crying at funerals and told to smile and rejoice. And I believe I linked to this, maybe if not this specific video, at least I have linked to her channel in the past. Alyssa Grenfell, she's a former Mormon, and she has a whole video from like a couple of months ago, 6 months, something like that, about the world of Mormon funerals, and that answered a lot of questions. Oh, no wonder I've seen more bots smiling, yay, happy, happy, at funerals, even by the funerals of like babies and children, because you're chastised. Oh no, you can't be sad grandma died. You're supposed to like smile and live it up and have a huge dance party. I'll link to Alyssa's channel down below if you want more like information about like leaving the Mormonism church. Mary starts going out to fundraise and feels like a failure for not being very successful and bringing in at least $100 like Sky wants. She also fails at bringing in many new converts. Eventually, Sky moves the cult to a larger property where they have to work even harder. Sky steps up the impassioned spiritual lectures, which include yet more Mormon influences, different levels of paradise, like the third heaven and the fifth heaven and the fourth heaven and being banished to outer darkness. Oh, that's a terrible fate. And she also, I forgot to mention this in the blog post, she frequently uses like forever and eternal and eternity, particularly as adjectives like, oh, our forever fate, our forever happiness. That's the whole Mormon thing, the whole, for all time and throughout all eternity, families are forever. That cult mantra is on Dr. Fraud's grave. Mary is also baptized again and given a, wow, I wonder where this came from, a top secret new name she can't reveal to anyone. I wonder what Dr. Fraud's secret temple name was. Mormon women can only reveal the secret temple name to their husbands. They can't tell like anybody else. And in the meantime, they can't learn their husband's secret temple names, like one of many instances of like sexism in the Mormon church. And as I now have since found out, all the women, and I guess all the men too, going through the temple on the same day, they give them the same secret names. It's not even like a special name for you, like Mary's new name was Lilac, and now it's going to be, like Jessica or something, or like a hippie name, I don't know, like Clover, or, Bamboo or Daffodil or something like that. So all the girls who were baptized are going to be Daffodil on that day. It's not even a special name assigned to them. But anyway, I'm moving on. One day while out soliciting and trying to make converts, Mary writes a letter to Mommykins and Stepdaddykins and faints on the post office steps soon after sending it. She begged them for a stamp and an envelope, and I just put it in the box. Mary has been fainting and feeling ill a lot lately, but dares not tell Sky. Oh, he has so many obligations and duties. I don't want to trouble him, and maybe I'm just not being spiritually high enough on the 8th heaven, the 9th, the 10th, the 20th level of all the heavens. So that thunder is a very good, unintentional aid to what I was talking about in the background. Presently, in the field sometime later, strange men abduct her, and everyone's, oh, how dare you, this is terrible. But no, they succeed in dragging her off, and they put her in the van and drive her away, and she's subjected to intense deprogramming. She weighs in at 89 pounds and is diagnosed with pneumonia, jaundice, malnutrition, terrible teeth, and many other ailments, like medical speak I couldn't understand. Head deprogrammer Dave says Sky lives a double life, spending a lot of time in a swanky apartment, and get ready for this phrase, wearing the dudiest of clothes, like that was also in Almost Lost. Sammy's talking about the new principal. Doesn't he sound like the dandiest dude in all of dudedom? Entertaining hookers and watching porn, but Mary refuses to believe it, even after being shown the paper trail and photos. Like, was it true that by working all of us as slaves, he had in his few years as a cult leader amassed millions of dollars, which he had deposited in Swiss banks, that only 2 months before my leaving, he had leased a lavish apartment in one of the most exclusive buildings in a town 4 hours drive from the kingdom, where he had ordered an open channel for pornographic films, and where he was visited by the youngest and kinkiest of whores. Like, Dr. Fraud is constantly calling any kind of sex that's not 100% missionary, vanilla, lights out, under the covers, no toys involved, like automatically kinky or pornographic or gross. Like, so like, who knows what her mind was when she said, oh, sexy is bad because it's not under the covers, lights out, missionary. I wouldn't believe it even when Dave showed me Xerox statements of bank balances and business dealings and pictures of Sky walking into a fashionable building in the dudiest of clothes with a little sex kitten hanging on each arm. They had rigged those things. I had heard about lowlifes like that. I wouldn't believe it. I wouldn't. That's another of her trademarks throughout this book. In the chapter, she repeats a word or a phrase thrice for emphasis. We've heard he's loud. I love this. And so anyways, he's like totally refusing to believe it until like the weirdest thing finally gets through to her in the deprogramming. And by the way, I found out while researching the post, like, deprogramming has been pretty much debunked by a lot of people, like in the medical and psychological and human rights communities since, because it doesn't really work, and a lot of the techniques they use are like abusive. They're just like, oh, we're going to deprive you of sleep and like drip water in your eyes and like abuse you and all these other things like is happening in here. But the 70s, people genuinely didn't know any better. Like, I've got to give credit where credit is due. Like, many people, not just Dr. Fraud, thought deprogramming was legit back when this was written. And so the thing that finally snaps Mary out of her cult spell is realizing there was no excuse for Sky not to let her use dental floss of all the things. And that Jesus, her parents, and even Dave wouldn't have denied her this basic necessity. Like, what is going on? Dental floss? Seriously, this isn't how cults work. I mean, I've never been in a cult, and even I know this. Members are gradually groomed or indoctrinated into it rather than being taken to a compound overnight and immediately subjected to intense brainwashing and strict rules. And as I said earlier, as I like found out while doing the research for the blog post, most people in the Jesus movement were not in cults. And I realized Dr. Fraud was trying to base Mary's cult experience on one of the real life cults that stemmed from the Jesus movement, or the so-called Jesus freaks. But most of them were just like, chill, laid back, like hippies back to the land in the late 60s, early 70s. They were just like really, really into Jesus, and they wanted to combine their spiritual, like new like passions and awakening, whatever, with their love for like being back to the land and hippies and stuff like that. But it's just, this isn't how cults work. Like, it happens so gradually, people don't realize they're being indoctrinated. Just like when you're groomed for like sex or like an abusive relationship, you don't realize what's going on, so you don't think to object or like call the police, or even like sometimes many victims, even years later, they just don't realize, it doesn't dawn on them, and that, oh, I really was abused, because it didn't feel like abuse at the time. It felt like something awesome. And just many cult members, it's gradually happening. Oh, we're gonna seize on your vulnerabilities, like use that to our advantage, talk you up, and okay, you're gonna start coming to more meetings, maybe start giving us some money. Okay, now the government's persecuting us, we've got to move to an isolated compound. Let's even move to South America, like in Jonestown, and like more and more, like, pressure and brainwashing. And then finally it's time to, drink the Kool-Aid. It does not happen like bang, 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 0 to 60 in a flash. Just like, the cults would not be as successful as they are if this is all how they all operated. So this process of grooming takes months, even years. But we all know Dr. Fraud couldn't be arsed to realistically develop storylines over a longer timeline. Like, she just, oh, let's just rush right through it. I don't know how to develop characters or storylines or angles or like black moments or denouement or like anything like that. Let's just like rush through it as fast as I can so I can get on to cranking out the next like fake diary or fake interview. So thank you very much for watching all the way through to the end. Now please leave me a comment down below telling me what your experience with literary frauds is. Have you ever read this crappy book or anything else by the late fraud Beatrice Sparks besides her most famous in her debut novel, Go Ask Alice? The next video in the series will be about chapter 2, Mark, the lure of unaliving yourself. Oh, it's just an already like WTF chapter. So many things to pick apart about that one, and of course a couple of other like booktube related videos, not about Beatrice Sparks, coming up. So thank you guys again very much for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye.